Good morning and welcome to Purpose-Driven Finances, where our focus is helping you use your finances to achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And now here's the host of Purpose-Driven Finances, Allan Malina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning. This is Allan Malina, your host, Purpose-Driven Finances and president of Serwus Capital Management. How are you doing this day? It's a hot day, but you know what? It's July 4th. We're celebrating America 250. So thankful to be here, thankful to be in America, but thankful that you're listening. Sitting here with my co-host, friend, Mary White. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Allan. Glad to be back with you, and happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day.
Yeah.
I've traveled a little bit around the world, and what I don't understand, and if you are offended by this, well, you ever heard those pants? You ever heard that old thing, the same pants you get mad in, you can get glad in?
I've never heard that before, but that's a great saying.
Yeah, it's probably Ben Franklin. Nah, it came from his cousin. But if you get offended, that's fine. But what's sad is the socialist candidates that are being tossed around in Texas, New York, California, they don't like America, and I don't understand. And yet they communicate through their iPhone or some other technology device that was created here in America. And we live in the greatest nation in the world, in my opinion. I've been to not as many as you listeners, but I've been to parts of Africa, parts of Europe, parts of Asia, parts of the Middle East. And America is a great country that you can achieve the purpose and plan for your life and realistically have some hope about it. It's a great thing. And, sadly, in some parts of the world, Mary, you and Brian would have been taken off to somewhere and never heard of because of, everything wasn't perfect according to the state for your morning show. And you guys did a great job.
For just giving opinions, for just saying things, or people, like you say, persecuted for their beliefs, their religious beliefs in other countries. That's absolutely right. We don't. Oftentimes, many people don't appreciate what we have here in our country.
Exactly. It's awesome. I mean, realistically, look, I'm a prime example. To go down a rabbit trail, I'm thankful in America because, I was raised, saw my grandfather, killed. We went through on food stamps. We lived in a trailer. Nothing wrong with living in a trailer. I've been there, so I'm not throwing any stones. But looking at the kid didn't look like there was much future. But by the grace of God and working hard in America, you can achieve so many great things. And
Land of opportunity.
It is. And it saddens me that so many are dependent upon the government and other things. So that being said, let's keep on going. Now you know where I stand. Thankful for America. But today's show is 1776 to the fiduciary standard. And what's exciting is, we're celebrating 250 years of the nation, but I want to take a step back and look at some of our ancestors, how they handled money, how they invested in 1776. And we think we live in a volatile time, but guess what? Well, it was rough. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few items, and then Mary will, ask me questions as we go. What I didn't, I'm not a studier of deep history, Mary. Mm-hmm. I look at history as a way to see places where mistakes not to make, but I'm so focused on today and tomorrow and 6 months and 5 years from now that a lot of times I don't know all the history. But so I did some research. One thing that I found out that in 1776 there wasn't a standard dollar like there is today. There was a mix of British pounds, foreign coins, silver, Spanish silver, milled dollars, and tobacco receipts in Virginia. Another thing that happened was the Continental Collapse. Paper money printed by Congress. It had hyperinflation and it failed. Imagine our dollar failing. Mm-hmm. That would be dramatic. And what ended up happening was trust and stability in the currency is a modern luxury. 250 years ago, it was just a massive speculation because it was such a new country and people were concerned.
So how would it work if you went into, say today you went into the store and you tried to pay for something with $5 and they said your money's not good here. We don't accept cash.
Right. We don't.
Like, how did people if that's how you pay for things, how did people survive?
Well, several things, from what I understand, is that's why we have states that had their own trading, currency. But also, if you lived out in the country, you traded from a barter system, and you lived on a barter system. And then also, if you went to a mini mart, we talked about that on Thursday a lot. If you went to a Sheetz, some of them I dare to say said, "Hey, we'll only use the pound. We'll only use the Spanish milled dollars," and some places, the tobacco receipts. So it was, it would be really tough, really tough.
So could it happen again? I mean, how do we place our trust in our financial system?
Right. Well, here's what I think is ironic. Is we think because we're so technologically advanced and so culturally advanced that we think these things will never happen again. Mm-hmm. And I think that is arrogant, and our security is misplaced because it could. There's been greater, I'm not talking about freedom, I'm talking about greater countries than the United States that have failed. I mean, look at Rome, look at the Greece complex. Look at Britain. I mean, Britain right now, it's still surviving. I'm wondering if they're being taken over by the Muslims and surrendering. Britain is no longer the country they once were. And so could it happen again? Oh, yes. I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody on the morning show, but there are people in Lynchburg that are my friends that they would be one step away from being preppers. They've talked about, radio systems, water storage, food storage, I know, I'm not going to name any names or things, but I know of somebody who has over 25,000 rounds. And,
Wow. You never know. Yeah.
You never. So there is a preparation. Mm-hmm. Do I think it'll happen? The likelihood is not very high, because it's not in anybody's interest for it to collapse. But, we'll see. Now, check out investing in 1776. I went through this. Did you know the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, didn't actually arrive till 1792? Which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. Wealth really meant physical things: land grants, livestock, shipping vessels, tobacco, lumber, things like that. But you've heard of speculation. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I wish when I was at Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, that I would have speculated on Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Even though it's been tanking here recently, mm-hmm. buying it 5 cents and selling it for what it is today, that would have been a nice return. But back then, what they speculated, they bought deeply discounted government debt, certificates from revolutionary soldiers, betting on whether the nation would survive. I think that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And back then, if a crop failed or a merchant ship sank, your entire legacy could be devastated. But right now, realistically, Mary, if a person does not do proper financial planning around the risk of your home or your car, you could be devastated.
Yeah. So, and thinking back before the stock market, if you talk about your portfolio, mm-hmm. and what did a portfolio look like back there?
Right. Well, a lot of people were agriculture.
Yeah.
Realistically, I wonder how many people actually diversified their farm. Because, yes, you have tobacco, and that was a great thing. And then in the South, you had some cotton. But at the same time, did you diversify across your agriculture? Fruit trees, orchard, berries. The smart people, they diversified, not just had one big cash crop, but they diversified. Because if I can sell blackberries, if I can sell blueberries, if I can sell green beans, if I can sell tobacco, I'm much more protected than if I just have one cash crop. And so that's the way it looked.
It was riskier back then, would you say?
Yes, because what happens if you, the farmer, go through and a cow kicks you in your spleen, or a horse?
Which was a very real possibility.
We actually, in my wife's family, had a relative who that happened to, and it doesn't turn out good. Especially if one of the modern things of, hey, we're going to bleed you. I wonder if that's where we're going to bleed you dry came from. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because if we bleed you dry, you are something called DEAD. That's a word that I can spell. Don't ask me to go to 5 or 6 letters, but DEAD I can spell. And then let me see what else has come up. That's independence was secured, massive loans from France, Spain, and Dutch bankers, and Alexander Hamilton realized survival required a disciplined, centralized financial system that foreigners could trust. That way they could. It's amazing. That's the way we are today. Sadly, and they moved America away from the local barter to an organized economy built for the long horizon. If they hadn't have made the early decisions that they made, we couldn't do what we did. And what it saddens me is slavery bad? We all know it is. However, and I'm not going to go down that road, that rabbit trail very long. But people forget, or they didn't pay attention in history class, and they didn't go down and the changes that were made and the positions that actually freed people and the way the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were written, it was life-changing, and it was hard. And, I'm not going to go into...
Well, I think it's one of those things that we mentioned how great our country is, and we take for granted. Because I think about this, that you walk in somewhere and you want to buy something, and it's just understood that this dollar that I have in my hand is recognized as everyone recognizes it as the currency, or in your case, it's now in your phone, in the back. But it's not a system of, well, I have some wheat, and you need wheat for your bread, so I'll give you the wheat, and you give me some cloth and for me to make my clothes.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're not bartering anymore. We have a recognized currency, and that's thanks to the men like Alexander Hamilton who recognized that we needed that structure.
Exactly. And we're going to go to a break, but one of the things I was, and I apologize, folks, I can't remember the guy's name. It was a well-written book, and it was a movie made out of it. But his son went to him and said, Dad, why are you doing this? And he was a leader, and my wife is listening and saying, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this.
Well, keep going. Maybe we and the listeners can figure it out.
And he was really he helped write the Constitution, and he had a farm up in New England states. And his son wanted to do something. He said, Dad, why are you doing this? His dad was a lawyer. And he said, that way you could climb on my back in order to do what you want to do. And we'll figure out what it is during the break. But, folks, give me a call, 434-316-0246. It's exciting. What we're going to be talking about next is some really good items that will help you achieve the purpose and plan for your life, foundations of portfolio fiduciary investment management. Catch us on a 30-second break.
Hi, everyone. Brian Kilmeade here. Coming up on the next edition of the Brian Kilmeade Show, we'll have the biggest newsmakers, news breakers, and take a deep dive into news you care about. Whether it's breaking news, entertainment, politics, or sports, even pop culture, I'll bring you the latest developments with expert analysis from the big names you know and love. Plus, you never know who may stop by. That's all coming up on the next edition of the Brian Kilmeade Show.
Weekday mornings from 9 to noon on WLNI. And now, back to Purpose-Driven Finances. Here's Allan Malina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning again. Allan, Malina, your host, Purpose Driven Finances, President of Spruce Capital Management, helping you achieve the purpose and plan for your life through financial planning, portfolio management, exciting times, celebrating America. I told you folks I'd find out what it is through the break. John Adams, and it was I think McCullough. He wrote the book. Very deep.
David McCullough.
David McCullough.
Mm-hmm.
Deep research, but also not only that, it was put into a mini series, and he was telling his son, his dad was like, "Dad, why are you doing all this?" And he said, "So you could do what you want to do." And realistically, folks, that's why America's here, and that's why I do what I do for my family, but also I know you do it for yours. So, folks, we're getting into a better lane for me, and that is foundations of fiduciary investment management. And you're like, Allan, that's a mouthful and it's boring. It's not really boring. Not to me, and realistically, it's not to you either. You say, Allan, fiduciary investment management is boring. Let me tell you why it's not boring. Because looking at your portfolio, and it can have a dramatic effect on the quality of your portfolio, the fees you pay, but not only that, but the process that you receive. Mary, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What is a fiduciary? Or your mindset? You tell me what you think it is, or you can give me the legal definition. I'm putting her on her spot, folks. She's kicking me under the table, but that's okay.
Someone you've entrusted to handle matters for you.
Okay. That's good.
What is it?
Fiduciary is actually someone who's legally required to give you the best advice possible.
Okay. So it's legally okay. It's the difference being that they are obligated versus a requested or
right. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Now, some of you folks out there are listening who you are at a different firm than mine.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a shot at you. This is a shot at me because I used to be at two other firms. And I'm not saying anything negative about those firms. They're great firms, just a glorious thing. I thought I would retire from Merrill Lynch. I really enjoyed it. I like being part of the, the thundering herd, what they called us. But back then, I was considered a broker-dealer. Now, what a broker-dealer is someone who's required to do what? Broker a deal. That's really what it is. It's either you buy or sell something. Mm-hmm. Now, advice is ancillary, but the definition is to buy or sell something. Can they also be a fiduciary? Yes. However, I am not affiliated with a broker-dealer. Therefore, the thing that I sell is advice. I don't have any products to sell. I have platforms that I've created that actually is a process in order to manage money and to do financial planning. But a fiduciary is required to give the best advice possible. Now, Mary, one thing that's interesting is people think a fiduciary is, okay, you told me advice on January 28th, 2005. That advice is just as true as it is today. It's not really accurate because it's really a snapshot for that moment. Because let's say, in 2005, you got advice to do X, but then your life changes, the investment changes, the world changes. So you can't really be held accountable for something years ago that when life changes, when the investment arena changes, things like that. I'm just going through, folks, because if I don't follow notes, I go through so many rabbit trails. Well,
you mentioned kind of things that might be trendy. What is the danger that you see if people let the hype dictate their strategy?
I'm not going to share who it was because I don't divulge things. But I had a client.
Gossiping could be good for you, though.
It could be good.
You learned that
yeah,
recently.
exactly.
But I know you can't do that as a fiduciary.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, not only that, but one thing I learned going into the industry here in Lynchburg, I was told by some very, very wealthy people. A lot of times we wealthy people don't use people in Lynchburg because people talk. Mm-hmm. So I'm tight-lipped.
Mm-hmm. And that's wise for any community that you
right.
live in because it's
right. Because I would love to be able to say,
trustworthy. Yeah.
this is my client, use me. This person, this institution, these are my clients, use me. It's not right. It's legally not allowed. And it's just, no. It's not, we don't do bandwagoning. But that client, I did say he said, Allan, I like paying somebody because in times past, I have made the wrong decision and sold at the wrong time. And it really hurt. And I said, well, that's what you pay me for. He said he watches it quarterly and he allows me to take care of it. And he said he likes it. That being said, if you listen to the hype, now, Mary, I know you're in broadcasting and James River Media, you want people to listen. One thing that's interesting that I appreciate from you guys, you're not like CNBC and Fox Business News. What I mean by that is the more in radio people listen and interact with you, the more advertising you can do and things such as that. But radio, it's a little harder to track than it is with TV. And so it ends up happening with CNBC, their goal is to create either a giant fear or a giant greed response. Because if some guy comes on there that is, his firm manages $18 billion and he's been in the industry since 1864 and he has white hair and he talks in an English accent, you're like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he says, you know what? You need to go out and buy SpaceX. No matter the price, buy SpaceX. You're like, I'm going to go buy SpaceX. And then they show you the chart the next day. SpaceX is down 15% from its all-time high. It's in crash mode. And then they on CNBC, they have dun, 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 dun. And you're like, ah! You're freaking out. And that's what CNBC and Fox Business News does, is they want you to sit there and watch for the next minute, and then the next minute, and the next minute. And people don't realize this. I could be on CNBC right now.
You're very good at the voice.
Oh, you're so kind. You know how I can begin on CNBC? Pay some money. Do you really think all those people come on there because they're such great, amazing prognosticators? No, a lot of them pay. I have looked at. I get so many, Mary. I get so many people that want to promote me, and it's not because I'm anything special. It's they want me to pay for my article to be on Bloomberg, or pay for my article to be on the New York Times website. And so that being said, see, I've gone through rabbit trails. So I've talked a little bit about the broker versus fiduciary. Brokers, they're a salesperson.
Yeah.
That's their number one goal. Are they bad? I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I used to be a broker. I just liked being able to be on the same side of the table. I did not like going to my client and saying, hey, just for me to enter an order, it's 0.5%, 1%, whatever it is. I didn't like that. I liked to be compensated as my client did well. I did well also, be on the same side of the table. I'm legally and ethically obligated. The one thing I don't like is, as a fiduciary, if you have somebody who gets mad at their old advisor and takes it out on you, I can get sued. And it's a whole rigmarole. And the problem is you can do everything right, but the insurance company's like, I'm just going to settle. And so that's a little frustrating. But the nice thing is it's fee only. I'm fee only. What I mean by that is there's only one person that pays me. That's you, the client. It eliminates commissions, side arrangements. What I mean by that is when I was at the other firms, they didn't tell me to sell in-house products, but they highly encouraged it. And the other item that I didn't like, and this is back in the day many, many years ago, we would have a fee account. But the way Cerusse Capital Management fee works is, let's say you have 60% stock, 40% bonds, or 38% bonds and 2% cash. When I was at the other firm, I would get paid more on stocks than bonds and get paid more on bonds than cash. Now, Mary, you're sharp. You're probably like, Well, what's wrong with that? The problem is in 2007, 8, and 9, when I dramatically reduced the risk in all portfolios. My top client, we made 2% a year, and the average loss was 16%. I got paid very little because we moved to bonds and cash. I had this one client. He, when I formed Service Capital Management in June of 2009, I went to him and I said, "Listen, I'd like you to come with me to my new firm from Merrill Lynch." He became a client in 2008. He came in 2008, and guess what I invested him in, Mary? Nothing. I left it in cash because I said, "Listen, guy, this is your retirement. It's about $225,000. I'm not going to invest it at all. I'm not going to make any money." And then I went to him. I was hoping, like, "Allan, all my friends and neighbors are down 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. I'm up, 0.5%. He says, "Allan, I was hoping you'd make me at least 2%. I'm like, "Bro, I'm glad you're not coming with me. Because if you don't understand, I didn't make any money off of you." And so now what ends up happening is fee only. If your fee is 1%, I'm just using because our fee goes from 0.5% to 3%. And but let's say it's 1%. That's 1%. Let me tell you how it's calculated. Let's say you have $100,000. It's $100,000, your account balance at the end of the month. $100,000 times 1% divided by 12. Pretty easy. It's not rocket science, and it's easily, you can audit it. And so stocks, bonds, cash, whatever's in your best interest, because there's going to come a time in the next probably 10 years that just putting your money in bonds and cash is the best place to be. And that being said, that's, being process-driven versus product-driven. Let me see if because my notes, I don't always memorize them. I think that's it. On that point, any questions, Mary?
Well, how does it affect your relationship with your client?
Well,
the fee only.
Yeah, the thing I like I don't know if you've, because Rich has dropped by my office and dropped in the home magazine. You've never done that. So in my office, I have a round table. And I purposely put in a round table because there is no one side. And the thing I like about being fee only is if I make one change a year or 553 changes in a year, it does not cause any more commissions or payment to me. It's me trying to do what's in the best interest of my client. And so
that's it. That's what you've hit on it.
Right.
You're doing what's in the best interest of your client.
Exactly. Yeah. See, I need you to take with me everywhere and just translate me, Allan. That's it, because I tend to go too deep. And then finally, Mary, trying to have institutional grade execution. That's a big fancy thing of trying to. I choose to use Charles Schwab as the custodian, and the Charles Schwab as the custodian. They're the ones who hold your money. They're the ones who send the statements. They're the ones who send you your monthly checks or ACHs. But they have a highly, highly robust system in order to get the best execution for the trades, for the prices. And it's totally open architecture. What I mean by that is I can virtually do any stock, any ETF. I can even trade around the globe. So folks, here's what I'm going to suggest you do. Give me a call at 434-316-0246 or go to my website, servuscm.com, because I think you will really enjoy working with a fiduciary and being helped to help you achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. I'm trying to spend the next 5 minutes. So you have a blessed weekend. Be safe. Don't blow any fingers. Exactly.
Returns for illustrative purpose. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or use a platform. Only will a suggestion occur after a meeting to determine goals, risk tolerance, and time horizons. Investments involve risks and no guarantee of future results.